Back, you beautiful people, to the Real Collective podcast. As always, Sean Tasse, your friendly host here, your friend in real estate, joined by Kyle Miller, my other illustrious co-host. Kyle, welcome back. Welcome back. After a quick hiatus, we had someone cover for you. I guess it was 2 episodes ago now, but we are rounding out the end of this season. I don't know if it's season. I guess it's season 12. We're just about finishing up here. So
Wow.
you're right. Yeah. Yeah. Pretty crazy.
My second though. My second?
More than that. I think
Really?
well, the seasons line up with the seasons, right? So in case anybody's
Oh, okay.
the seasons line up with the seasons. We started this fall 2021. It's fall 2024. We're getting close to here, so we're getting, every year there's 4 different seasons. So season 12 sounds like, oh my goodness, you're getting into like post HBO, but it's not that. Anyways, whatever. How you doing, man?
Living the dream as usual. It's like Christmas where we are because it's like rate announcement day. So
Yeah,
all the brokers, all the real estate agents get fired up. So what's happening? What does it mean?
something to
So
talk about.
something to
Let's
talk
get
about.
something to talk about.
Yeah,
How about Ray?
that's it.
As always, if you're liking what you're hearing, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, share this with someone who you think might like this conversation. You can download the Calendly. You can download the buyer or seller guides below. You can book an appointment in the Calendly links below with Kyle or I, and you can always hit that like button and yeah, share this with your friends, all that good stuff. And yeah, we'll talk to you. We'll talk to you when we talk to you, or not, whatever you like. So I think we wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about rates, talking about what effect that has. I think we talked about that last time, but now that they're actually out, we're going to start to see the trickle down effect of that. I was guessing that they were going to go down by a half point. You were a little more conservative in your estimation and correct. So congratulations, you win and you lose
Perfect.
because you don't get a lower monthly payment.
Well,
So
I personally I do. My payment's gonna drop like $50
there you
again.
go. There you go.
So
Yeah.
yeah. So we'll see how that. It's gonna treat my wife apparently. That $50 difference.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Big difference. After paying like exorbitantly more for the last couple of years.
Yeah,
Yeah, so and then they're expecting there's another announcement end of October, October 23rd, I think, after the long weekend. So
yeah.
that is probably going to be another quarter point by the sounds of things. So, three in a row, quarter points with the eye towards dropping a total of, I mean, we went up by, what was it, like 7 or 10 quarter points over the course of a year and a half. And so we're going to come back down that same number, maybe not 7 or 10, but instead of 10, maybe seven, 7 quarters. So what's that up
Well,
to?
they have to get it there. The goal is to get the overnight rate to somewhere around like
Three?
I think it's three. Yeah, it's between 3 and 4,
Yeah.
right? Which again, to everybody listening and watching, that's not the retail rate. That's just
Right.
the wholesale rate.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So the retail rate's going to be 2% higher than that, right? So and that's at a point too where it's not, it's just, to the simplified, it just is what it is. It's not stimulating, it's not retracting, it's just, that's where things are at, and that's normal.
People
So that's where their goal is to end up, right?
people have this idea in their mind that annual inflation is around 3%. And if you look at, hey, annual inflation about 3%, if the rate is about 3%, then they match up, they kind of line up. So to look at it that way, now that's obviously they're not the same thing. I get it. But just to, keep that in your mind. Now, the other thing we wanted to talk about today is talk about solution-oriented real estate, solution-oriented negotiation, solution-oriented mortgage plans. And I think both of us are really good at doing that. So we'll get into that a little bit later. In terms of, the rate announcement, you said you saw a really good tweet earlier that someone put out saying, what effect this is actually going to have. I think I saw an email come through that said, "Oh, well, every $100,000 your payment's going to go that you have on mortgage, your payment's going to go down by $15 a month or something like that, right? Give or take." Um, So you don't have a big margin on your house, is what I surmise. So congratulations for you.
Oh no, it's huge. It's huge. So it won't feel that good. Maybe it won't go down as much as I think it will. That's it. So,
Well,
but
yeah, go ahead. What are you seeing on in the Twitter sphere, and Xer, Twitter X, whatever.
well, if you're one interesting guy to follow, and I'd shout him out, even though he's technically competition, is Ron Butler. And Ron Butler is the owner of Butler Mortgages. It's the biggest. They are the biggest mortgage. What do we call ourselves? Producer, if you want, in Canada, right? Purely online brokerage. Really shook up our industry when he came in, guns blazing like that. He's been around for like 30 or 40 years in the industry and went this route. But he holds a lot of weight. Like what he says, he's a boomer and he's doom and gloom in a lot of cases. He focuses a lot on the GTA and Vancouver, which again, I think when I read his stuff, I always have to take it into, I have to read between the lines and kind of like, again, Ottawa, I truly believe it. And it tends to keep proving us right that we are different than other cities.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting. But one thing he mentioned was, as these rates come down, it's amazing how many people don't actually pay attention to it. For all the publicity it gets, for all the pushing on the social that we do as in our industry, it's that people just don't listen, don't hear it. And I'm not saying that's a negative thing. It's not in their space, especially if you're on a fixed. You're like, this doesn't affect me. So see you when I need to renew, because that's that. Like it is exactly. I'm like, I'm fine. So, and he said, anybody said here on a thread he's got, by the fourth rate cut in October, the public opinion will hit a realization that interest rates are definitely coming down. Some people who paused their interest in buying their first home when rates went wild will start to reconsider. Some people who want a bigger house may start looking, and that's an interesting thought. Is at some point people are going to look up and go, huh, that seems lower than it was, and I think that's time to go. So it could kind of piggyback off what we were talking about in the last episode when you were like, fall's kind of a big time. There's that feeling of pent up demand. And I think that tracks right on top of that.
Yeah.
Right. If you're out there looking today, the rates have not been lower for 2 years.
Yeah.
So you're coming in when things are on the way down, and you might be able to steal something. It might spur you up to go do something. And if you close in November or December, you may get the best of both worlds, where you get a decent price on something that was held, and your rate has only come down over the next 90 days, which is an interesting place to be.
I think smart buyers are buying right now, and I think the rest of the, general public, like this guy is saying, are not paying any attention. Right? The people who are paying attention are the savvy buyers who are like, yeah, okay, you know what, this is going to hit, and everybody, not everybody, but the large majority of the population are going to wait until the springtime, and they're going to wait until the springtime, and you know what's going to happen? They're going to miss, because the rates will be at their lowest price, and as a result, the houses will be more expensive. The one thing that I would say about this guy's post is, yeah, for sure, families who have been whatever, but I think a lot of people are in tough spots right now, like individual small families, small business owners. I've spoken with a lot of small business owners that are like, look, I can't do this anymore. I got to shut down my business. It's not working.
Oh, just today I saw a Facebook post, top of the world.
Yeah.
Top of the world in Ottawa. If you're in Ottawa, if you've been in Ottawa a long time, you've been in any part of the alternative, BMX and skateboard and, indie rock scene, top of the world, man. That's where you got your stuff. And after 22 years, I think he said,
it's been
25.
Man, they've been since I was a kid, right? Like I'll
well, maybe it's this ownership. Maybe it's this ownership has owned it for 22 years.
Yeah.
But it's crazy to think that they said that like COVID killed us and we've never been able to recover. Yeah. And I was like, that sucks. Like
I'll read you the post, because I felt emotional when reading this. Heavy heart, we announced the closure of Top of the World. After years of dedicated service, we made the difficult decision to shut down our operations. Final day of business, September 27, 2024. And I'm like, I just want to go and get like a sticker, like a top
Anything.
sticker, or something, say
The
something.
top, yeah, yeah,
That was
man.
all my childhood, right? Go down to Rideau Street. I mean, they moved to Bank recently, but like go down to Rideau Street, go to Crosstown Traffic, go to Top of the World, get a pizza, do bad things because you're a teenager, and just like cause shit, like that's, I feel like everyone growing up had that experience in their life, go buy a pair of Vans off the wall, get a baseball hat. It's a cool thing to get a skateboard, whatever, right? So Top has always been a passion project for us, and we've dedicated probably more time, love, effort, energy into it than we should have, but it was just a job. It wasn't just a job at our family home. Last few years have been a challenge. Throughout the pandemic, worked 6 days a week for over a year, took out loans to secure the employment of the staff, the arrival of available products, hand delivered every order across the city until we're able to reopen. Choices all looked like the correct path post pandemic. And of course they did, right? Because you want to keep it going. But in the past 18 months, the truth of the situation has been revealed. Exceptionally poor winter season last year, current challenges of the global market, shifting consumer preferences, inflationary pressures, high costs associated with a pandemic debt load have made the shores clear. Extend our heartfelt thanks to our exceptional staff members over the years. Tireless efforts, unwavering dedication made the backbone of our shop. And it's like it's bang on, right? People who are small business owners are pouring their own money into their business just to keep afloat and think, hey, look, if I can just kick the can, if I can just kick the can. And now it's getting to a point. There's enough small business owners that I know and that I deal with on a regular basis. They're like, can't do it anymore. I gotta shut down. It doesn't make sense. I would love to, and it feels like a loss. Like it feels like a big L, and it's absolutely the economy. It's not poor management. It's not poor business ownership. It's nothing like that. It's just that's what it is. That's the world that we're living in. You look at the size of the Amazon distribution facility and the new one and the new one. Like they just, how do you compete with that when you're a small business owner and you're trying to, you got to charge way more. Well, people won't pay. They're just going to have stuff delivered to the house. It's hard right now, man.
When I was at a mortgage professionals conference, we had Benjamin Tall there, who's top guy at CIBC, big in the broker world too as an economist.
Yeah.
And and one of the things he said, I probably mentioned this on a different podcast, but he had said that when they look at like COVID and the 2 years after, so whatever we officially call that time, whether that's ending now,
Sure.
which it could be, right? It could be, or it was ending 2023. I can't remember, but
I don't know, man. There's still COVID out there. I've got people who I've got friends who are like dropping like flies. Oh, I got COVID. I got COVID. Blues
oh
fest.
no, I know it's still there, but just when we look at
Yeah.
the actual pandemic start to finish, and
Yeah.
then the recovery zone after whatever,
Yeah.
right? He basically said, he's like, we did 4 years of consumption in a year. We had 4 years of consumption done in 1 year, which is why there was all the backlogs and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
And he goes, now we're not, because we did.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a massive peak and then a massive drop. But when you look at it on when you look at it on the longer timeline, that bump won't be as big, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's what's happening, is that people have pulled back because they bought all their shit. They bought all their shit, and then patterns changed, and then money's changed on top of that, inflation, cash flow, like, so it just dropped right off, right? So
What
we
else?
still
What else?
consume the same amount. It's just we did it all in 12 months or 18 months
Yeah.
instead of over 48 months,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So and this is going to be a casualty of that. They survived in the shittiest time, and now that things are recovering, they're dying,
Yeah.
which is backwards, but it does make sense.
Yeah. No, it's a whole new world, right? It's people are operating differently. Anyways, not what we really wanted to talk about, but sad, like a really sad day.
That was a bummer.
I read that and I'm like, oh man, this hurts. In the second half, we'll get into talking a little bit about solution-oriented real estate. We'll talk about, sometimes it's not just about the money. It's not just about, hey, I want this much money for my house. I want this much money for my house. What else is there to it? What other, levers can we pull? How can we help our clients do what they need to do, whether they're buying, whether they're selling. And then from a mortgage point of view, what packages can you put together that are, you've talked about in the past? Here's A, B, C, D, all the way down to Z. If this doesn't work, we're going this way. If this doesn't work, we're going this way. And I think that's one thing that sets agents apart, right? There's some who are just almost order takers. Hey, here's what my clients want to offer you. Okay, well, would they consider this? No, this is what it is. Not going to happen. Not going to work. Won't work in today's economy. You've got to find a way to make it work if both parties are into it. So we'll talk about that in the second half. Take a quick word from our sponsors. As always, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, share this with someone who you think might like this conversation, and we'll catch you on the flip side. This episode of the Real Collective Podcast is brought to you by Real Collective Marketing, the marketing agency that specializes in the unique needs and budgets of small to medium-sized businesses. We provide turnkey marketing solutions that get results. We become an extension of your team and act as your virtual marketing department, designing and implementing cost-effective strategies that will help grow your business. You can find out more today at www.realcollectivemarketing.ca. Now, here's your hosts, Sean and Kyle. Welcome back to the second half of the Real Collective Podcast, where I'm holding a blue pen and Kyle is wearing a jacket. We both have jackets on. Better to have jackets on than the alternative. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, share this with somebody who might like this conversation. Kyle,
you said you weren't going to use it. You said you weren't going to use it.
I didn't use it.
You didn't use it. No,
no. I alluded to it. I didn't use it. What is going on? How are you putting deals together based on out of the box solutions? And I'll let you go second because I'll tell you about one that I just finished doing. Was a deal where we were negotiating and we got back and forth and the price was so low and the seller said, you know what, I don't want to go that low on the price. I think we were lifted at like $750. The offer came in at like $715. The closing was 4 months away and his carrying costs were through the roof. And so he said, no, I won't do that. So finally we worked back and forth and back and forth. We got to a number that was acceptable. But the main reason he was able to accept that number, which was a little bit lower than he would have ultimately wanted, was because they said, look, we'll close this in 3 weeks, right? So the quick closing meant that his carrying costs were not there. So not just looking at the number, but looking at the cost of carrying. I think the difference there saved him 15 grand. So he's like, look, I'll take the lower number than the 750 because you're able to close sooner. So, instead of 750, essentially it's like he would have been getting 735 versus the December closing, right? So they went down to I think it was 730 or 725 or something like that. But they were closing in 3 weeks. And so, working it through and understanding what's that time worth to each person, was able to bring the deal together because these guys were stuck on their money, right? The buyers wanted the lower price and my seller started to think, okay, well, what's the other piece of the puzzle here? And by pushing that date sooner, faster, was able to accept a little bit lower price than he would have otherwise done.
Yeah, and I think, and again, too, we've said it 1,000 times. I'm going to keep saying it for the people that tune in and don't tune in, right? That money's different to both sides.
That's right.
Right? That guy, if he's dead set on 750, that 25 grand or the different price, whatever, that's literally out of his pocket at closing, right? For the people buying, right? Although they may have a limit because of qualification, whatever, right? But that 725 versus 730 or 737 and 500 is spread out over 25 or 30 years. So it doesn't have the same impact. It has an impact, don't get me wrong, right? I'm not saying waste money, but it has a different impact on them than it does on him. And he did and to be honest, I completely agree with that. You do the right thing. He understands it's not the number, because when you look at the net, you have to look at the net effect, right? Opportunity cost, right? If he's gonna sit there and wait for 750, that's costing him money. And he gets 750, but it took him 4 months more to get it. 750 less that carrying cost for 4 months. What do you get? We can wrap this up in 3 weeks today. Let's go. It's the same thing. I net out the same. I net out more. Maybe I net out less, but my sanity's intact. So let's rock and roll.
Well,
You have to look at that bigger picture, not just that line in the sand number, you know?
I'll give you another one. We had a property listed for it was over $1 million, right? And when I first met the client, I think I told you part of the story, but I'll tell you the other part of it. When I first met the client, I said, "Look, you need to be listed 999. That's the number.
Right.
That's what it's worth." And
Yeah.
we were a little bit ambitious with our pricing, so we reached a little bit. We posted up for 1150. We dropped it down to 1100. We dropped it down to 1050. And one thing I didn't mention is we were also up against a house that an agent said is very similar. Not the same house, but one house had these pros and our house had these pros and our house had these cons and that other house had these cons. So it's just a question of who the right buyer was. What did they like? Which house did they like more? And the one comment that he made was, I would rather be the first house out of these two sold as opposed to the second. Because as the market continues on a downward trajectory, if you're the second, you're going to sell for less than this. But these houses are essentially, yeah, they're different, but they're the same house. It just one is going to attract a different buyer than the other, but be the first one sold. So we dropped ours down to 1050. And I think from there we took something like 985 or 982 or something like that. At the time, these guys were at 979, and then they dropped down to 950. Oh, sorry, 1079. They dropped down to 1059. Now we've been sold for, I think we're closing today. Like we've been sold. It was a quick closing, but we've been sold for 2-3 weeks. They dropped their price after we went firm. They dropped their price down to 999 because they were watching us. Obviously, it's been on for 2 weeks, still not sold. So, what's their next thing that they've got to do if they don't sell in the next 2-3 weeks and they have to sell? What do you think they have to drop their price down to?
Exactly what you guys were, actually lower than what you guys sold for.
They got to drop their list price down. If they're not sold in 2-3 weeks, they got to drop their list price down to either 979, or if they want to really be aggressive with it, they've got to drop it down to 950. So, heeding that advice and being the first one to sell, and we were able to accept a lower price on this one because the closing was, again, 3 weeks or something. Like, it was a quick closing, and there was value there with my client. But now, looking back, hindsight is 2020. Man, how happy are we that we took that money, because it's essentially the same house, right? And we end up selling more because we sold sooner. So
what was their motivation? What was their motivation to take their quick closing and less money?
Who's that? The sellers?
Yeah.
There were things. How's that?
Okay.
Yeah, there were things. They're still clients, so I don't want to. I mean,
gotcha. That's fair.
Yeah.
Let's just
say they were motivated. How's that?
Perfect.
They might watch this episode, and I certainly don't want to. It's not.
No, it's fine. It's just that's the kind of stuff. That's the interesting stuff is to try to find that button to make to make it work where it's still a good deal for everybody, right? Like there was nothing. No one got raked over the coals here.
Right. No, exactly. The buyers were happy. They're like, hey, yeah, we're happy. We get this price. That's great. The sellers were satisfied. The selling price was, within 1 or 2% of what I said it was going to sell for. And so everybody was like, yeah, this is good. And we all get to move on with life. Right. And that's what solution oriented selling is all about. It's like, okay, don't get stuck on the price. And a lot of the times I'll see an agent, they won't even call. Right? I've got a property listed. They won't even call. They'll just submit an offer. Here's our offer. Okay. Do you want to talk about it? No, don't want to talk about it. Just here's our offer. The end. Okay. Can I give you a counter? No, don't give me a counter offer. This is our offer. That's it. Take it or leave it. Like, that's the.
Not much of it. It feels like you try to be a bully on that one. And I'm like, what are you bullying? Like, no, thanks.
Do you want to get the deal done or not? That's what it comes down to, right? And I'm always the guy who wants to get the deal done. Hey, you give me an offer, I'll work with you. I'll find a way to make it work. You tell me how we can make this work. And a lot of the times it is a low ball offer that comes in like that. Sometimes it's just like, you're listed at, I don't know, let's say you're listed at 800, the offer comes in at 750. Some people, what are you doing? Why are you wasting my time? No, give me the offer. Give me 750. Let's get to work. Like what else is in that offer? What are the conditions? Is it subject to the sale of your house? Is there a well or a septic condition? Is there a home
I
inspection?
just like to find out like why. Why do you think I would accept this?
That,
help me find out why you think I should accept this,
that,
you
that,
know?
that yeah, but that comes off as a fight. I don't even want to fight you. I just want to work. I want to work with you. Okay. What
Right.
you do, right? Like let's figure out the middle ground here. Is it that 775 is going to get us there? Right? Okay, let me go and talk to my guy and see if he'll do it. Will you guys do it? What other pieces are in here? Oh, well, you want the fridge, stove, dishwasher, washer, dryer. What if we didn't take those out? What if we sold those? Would you be into that? No, we definitely want all this. Okay, good, fair enough. Like these are all pieces of negotiation. Oh, you say you want us to close the pool, right? Okay, well that's going to cost $1,000. What if we don't close the pool? What if you close sooner and you close the pool, right? Like different things like that. There's always a way around it, right? Like what else is there to it? But if you don't have a conversation with the other agent, you can't, right?
We did that when I bought my first house with a buddy of mine. We were two dudes, right? Like he had come out from living with friends. I'd come out living with a girl and had nothing. Like I
Yeah.
had clothes, like everything left in my car. So I had that little of stuff. And we started looking and we found this place where like this place is mint and they wanted a price and then we thought we were balling, so we kind of lowballed it. And the guy was like, "Don't do that." They're like, "Okay." Then we came up in price a bit, but we were like, we went back and said, I think we tried to go full asking or very close, and we're like, we want all the furniture, we
Yeah.
want everything on the main floor,
Yeah.
and they were nice enough. Like I think our agent did a good job at like, hey, they're two young guys, they don't have anything, right? And like your place is beautiful because of this,
Yeah.
right? Like, and they could use it.
Yeah.
And then eventually, dude was like, "No, that carpet itself is like $5,000. You two yahoos are not getting my $5,000 carpet." And we're like, "Fair, fair." And then, but he's like, you know what? We don't want to move. We don't want to move
Yeah.
the dining room set,
Yeah.
and we don't want to take down the curtains,
Yeah.
um, and like the chairs at the island. And we're
Yeah.
like, perfect. We're probably just gonna eat at the island anyway. We'll buy our new set, and the dining room's a perfect size for the pool table we're about to put in. You know,
Yeah.
it'd be great though if we could have the 11-foot aluminum boat in the back with the 9.9. And he was like, "Done deal, perfect. Let's go." So we got a boat.
And that's solution oriented, right? Understanding the motivation of the buyer and the seller, and understanding like,
Huge.
yeah, okay, this is what these guys are about. This is what they need. Man, they need a couch. They don't have a couch. It's so much more valuable for you to get a couch and for someone to say, good, I get to get a new couch for my new house that's going to fit the space better, right? And in that position of life, if they got a $5,000 carpet, they're in a position of life where they can go and they can afford themselves a new couch.
Oh yeah, buddy wasn't. Yeah, he was. And we met him a couple times. He's a good dude, and we appreciate it for sure, right? And it's, but again, that comes back, and we've talked about it so many times. It's the preparation and understanding your situation,
Yeah.
so you don't screw it up when you're in that, right? Like as the buyer, do I know what a jump in $5,000 cost me? And am I okay with that on this house? If you're not okay with it, you're not okay with it. That's fine. But at least you know it costs you $27 a month, and you're okay to spend that 27 bucks.
Yeah.
As a seller, it becomes like, okay, I know we need this price, and we're up here. So are we okay with haggling to get those closer, or do we just got to bail, or are we insulted? Like when you don't understand those dynamics and how those shift and what effect it has on you, you're going on a hope and a prayer, which is a dumb way to go. I'm sorry, that's stupid. You
And
have to understand your situation.
and as an agent, it's really important for you, I'm talking to the real estate agents out there, if you're representing a buyer, to ask questions of the listing agent to understand the scenario so you can set your clients up for success. And if you're representing, the seller, to ask questions of who are these people, what are they doing, are they coming in, are they pre-approved, all that sort of stuff, and then once you know what the scenario is on the other side, you can start to propose solutions. right? And being solution oriented is the thing that either brings a deal together, or if you're not solution oriented, stops a deal from happening. So being collaborative, being, you know, working with the other agents that you're working with, it makes all the difference between whether you can help your clients fulfill their dreams of either selling or buying or not, right? So are you really helping your clients if you're just, I'm going to fight, I'm going to get the best possible price that I can? That's an ego driven response for the agent versus, hey, let's find a way to make this happen, right? There's a listing price, there's a final sold price, there's got to be some sort of something else that's jiving in there to make it all work and make it all come together. And that's someone who knows their client, knows the scenario, knows how to work.
I had someone call me, I had an agent call me and just saying like, how would you handle this situation, or what would the bank think about this? Right. And which is a good call to take. And it basically stemmed to the seller saying like, hey, we don't want to waste our time fixing this problem. So if you guys are okay to fix the problem, what's the price we got to come to?
Yeah.
And that was it. Like, again, it's that opportunity cost, knowing what your standard is, or I don't know, I'm trying to figure out the word, but what your point is of where you're like, I'm not wasting my time with this. Right. That lady, she's 80 something years old, a septic problem, I think. And the guy buying's like, septics don't scare me. He's like, but have it fixed. And she's like, no. And he's like, great, drop your price by this. I'll pick up the deal. No problem. We'll make sure it's fixed. She's like, perfect.
That's it. Yeah, exactly.
Right. Perfect. I don't want to call the guy. I don't want to have it messed up. I don't want to do this in the timing. I don't want anything to do with it. It's still going to cost me 20 grand anyway. Yeah. So I don't get the 20 grand at the end, no matter what I do. I'll just not take the 20 grand and not have the problem.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's what it's about, right? Like understanding those pieces of it, where it's not all about money. Yeah, okay, it's nice to have a lower price, or it's nice to have a higher price if you're selling, but it's also way better to have the peace of mind that, hey, we found a way through and it's done. So yeah, I think that's a good place to wrap. Yeah, it's a sad day for Ottawa about top of the world. Nice day for people in Canada about having a bit of a lower interest rate. And if you're hiring a real estate agent or a mortgage broker, make sure you're hiring someone who is putting together a solution-oriented strategy for you and your client. As always,
probably be up there.
Yeah, exactly. Hit the like button. What are we doing?
I'm pointing at you, but it's on Zoom. It's on a recording. But then when we go on social, you'll be up there.
Yeah,
so,
it's
one of those.
Yeah, exactly.
Depending on where you're viewing from.
Exactly. Like, subscribe, share. You can always, as always, you can download the buyer or seller guides below. Book an appointment with Kyle or I in the Calendly links below. If you're watching on YouTube, thanks for your eyes. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, thank you very much for your ears. Until next time, keep it real.
Collective.